this is Brittany Nguyen reporting from Physics General Intelligence Headquarters. According to a recent report, students at Benjamin Franklin High School are struggling with linearizing graphs. It seems the curved line of graphs are terrorizing the students. I am here with physicist Sidi Tanakabosik, who has developed a way to straighten the curve. Sidi, please explain your method.
Well, Brittany, the catastrophic events at BFHS have led me to discover a way to straighten the curves. The process is a lot simpler than students think. For example, this log or pro graph shows a y is proportional to x squared relationship. To create a linearized graph, you must square the x values. If it doesn't work the first time, continue to square the x values until your line is straight. Once your graph seems to be linearized, put a best fit line on it and make sure your correlation is at least a 0.98 correlation.
So Sadie, for the viewers at home, how would this graph be linearized? This is what your graph should look like.
Now this log or pro graph shows an x is proportional to y squared relationship. To create a linearized version of this graph, you must square the y values. And again, if it doesn't work the first time, continue to square the y values until your line is straight. Once your graph seems to be linearized, remember to put a best fit line on it and look for the 0.98 correlation.
So to linearize a x is proportional to y squared graph, what would you need to do? This is what your graph should look like.
Finally, this log or pro graph shows an inverse relationship, meaning that y is proportional to 1 over x. To create a linearized version of this graph, you must multiply the x values by 1 over x. And again, if it doesn't work the first time, continue to do so until your line is straight. Once your graph seems to be linearized, remember that the best fit line and look for the 0.98 correlation.
For this y is proportional to 1 over x graph, how would this curve be linearized? This is what your graph should look like.
In review, how do you know what steps it takes to linearize a graph?
First, identify the type of correlation that your graph has, and then use the correlation to identify what steps you should take to linearize the graph. Well, Sadie, that wasn't very difficult at all. Thank you for your very insightful method of linearization.
No problem. Just make sure to remember that whenever you have an x value that's squared, you square the x. Whenever the y is squared, you square the y. And whenever you have an inverse of x, or 1 over x, multiply the x values by 1 over x.
This was Brittany Nguyen reporting from headquarters. Thank you for tuning in.